If you really like him doing something, then then you praise him, or you can just ignore him. And a lot of the times, people will spend a long time with their dogs just playing around with them. So that's one. Let's just ignore that feature now. So that's one feature. His real use is, you've already seen it once, is to take you off of this thing called a breadcrumb trail. It is to just kind of persuade you to explore, because you have got this really open-ended world. And again, this is something which some games have, but not an awful lot of games have what I call true free roaming. So if we have a look at that free roaming now, if we just go off to the left here, we'll just explore around. You're completely free to go off through these woods. There's no mission that takes you off down here. There's lots of different caves and lots of different tombs. There's a lot of hidden objects, some of which the dog will really help you find. And you know, things like these cliffs you can jump over. That's completely up to you. And so one of the uses of that dog was to kind of, if you got a little bit lost, he would really help you come back. If you were following, not exploring a lot, then he'll tend to try and pull you off that. So that's the first little new feature in there. The free roaming is the second new feature. Then the third new feature is the combat. And so we're going to show the combat now. But before we do, we've got this, which is this is just a little bit of cutscene. Now, you've had lots of these in games before. Many games, especially a lot of Japanese games have an awful lot of these cutscenes, where you have to sit and wait and look at the story and watch the story for hours on end, and then you carry on with the action. And I think some of those are absolutely fantastic. I quite enjoy them, but a lot of times I just want to get through them. You know, they just go on for far too long for me. And what we allow you to do is you decide if you want to be in a cutscene, and you can always, as you saw there, you can always just walk away. If you're not interested in a bit of the story, you can just walk away.
Can he die?
He can die, yes.
But not
he can absolutely die. It's he has these, because he's an AI system. He's got a mind. If he's ever injured, he'll remove himself. So he doesn't. You know, every time you fight, he doesn't die. That would be very tedious and boring. So you'll notice that if in a fight, if he gets hurt, he actually goes to a place of safety. So normally in a fight, he doesn't die. You know, lots of people have never seen him die. But I would say, because people get so attached to their dogs, and because the dog is very unique to you, it's only when you go in someone else's world, you realise that your friend's dog's behaviour is different to your dog's behaviour, because that means you've got this bond between you and your dog. And that means if you're so emotionally connected to your dog, it means that in the story of Fable II, I'm going to exploit that love you have for your dog. I'm not going to say what happens. All I will say is that I want you to experience a very dramatic story, and for you to experience a dramatic story, if I can tell a story, if I can weave something into that story which is you care about, that's more dramatic. That gives you a little bit of a clue. And now what you're thinking, I'm going to kill the dog, and that's going to be it. But it's a little bit more subtle. What I want to do with the combat is make it very simple. Very simple, so anybody in this room could just pick up this combat and fight and win this battle without me saying anything about the game. But I wanted the combat to be as deep, this is my dream, as deep as even a fighting game. So fighting games like, you know, I was inspired by fighting games like Soul Calibur Tekken and all of those games. Now, for me, those games are very, very hard because they involve you pressing lots of buttons and getting very, very sophisticated with your moves, and some of the moves are ridiculously complex. So that was my dream. On one side, to have something as sophisticated as a fighting game, on the other side to have something so simple. And what it came down to is the idea of putting different combat styles on different buttons. So we've got one combat style on the blue button, which is all to do with swords and maces and hammers, and if you press that blue button, then you'll just, as you see, you'll just use the sword and you can hit it. The other button, the yellow button, is all to do with ranged weapons like guns and crossbows and pistols. And again, if you just press that button really fast, then you'll shoot lots of things. You don't particularly have to aim, but it's not very accurate, but and it's not very powerful, but it's a very simple approach. And the last thing is to do magic. Again, if I just press the button, I can just send magic out, and I can press the button really fast and send lots of different magic out. Now, the interesting thing is I can start combining this together. So I can use the sword, and then I can use the magic, and then I can use the gun. So I can do that very, very quickly. That's one side of it. The other side of it is... sorry, you kicked my dog, you asked about the dog. The other side of it is, so if you are a gamer, you're going to want more than just pressing buttons like this. You're going to get very bored very quickly. So the interesting thing is, I'll just do one thing, is you can power up each one of these combat styles by adding new button presses to each of these buttons. So if I hold this button down now, because I've powered it up when I cheated, I am blocking. So that's a very important thing for action games, is blocking. If I hold down that button and push in a direction, I'm doing something called a flourish, which is a special move. You can see him backing off. Now that is true for all of the buttons. So if I hold down the yellow button, I'll aim and be much more precise and be more like a sharpshooter. If I press this button with rhythm rather than just press it randomly, then I can get chain attacks. I can get what are called counter moves. And it starts to be a lot more sophisticated, and there's a lot more detail in there. So you can see that I've got blue experience here for when I use the sword, yellow experience for when I use the gun, and red experience when I used the magic. And the way that system works is, the more skillful I am, the more I mix things together, the more skill I use, the more experience I get for each fight, which is a very unusual experience system. And what that means is, gamers will get huge amounts of experience and be able to level up their hero. And there's just an enormous number of levels that you can go through on your hero, where the casual gamers, people who have never played these sort of games before, will get far less experience. And by the way, there's our dog. He was hurt, and Sam's just healed him. So that combat system is very, very sophisticated, far more sophisticated than Fable 1. And I think the gamers that we've tried this on really have discovered their own styles of combat. So everybody's got their own sort of style. Some people just use the sword, some people use the gun, some people use guns and swords, some people just use magic. We've got 8 different magic classes. Each one of those magic classes have got 5 different levels. There's ranged magic as well as area magic. It's a huge amount of combat stuff. And that's very, very important for, obviously for a role-playing